The fresh powder should have been perfect for tracking deer through the Colorado wilderness. Sarah Mitchell had been following a promising trail for nearly an hour when she noticed something that made her blood freeze in the mountain air. Dark spots in the snow, too red to be anything but blood, led away from the main trail toward a cluster of boulders she had never explored before. As a wildlife photographer who had spent 15 years documenting predators in their natural habitat, Sarah knew the difference between a successful hunt and something far more troubling. The blood pattern was wrong, scattered and desperate rather than the clean efficiency of a natural kill. When she followed the crimson trail around those ancient rocks, what she discovered would challenge everything she thought she knew about wild cats and blur the line between rescue and reckoning. Crouched behind the largest boulder, barely visible against the gray stone, was a cat unlike anything Sarah had seen in these mountains. The animal was clearly injured, its left rear leg held at an unnatural angle, but what struck her most was its size and unusual coloration. This was no ordinary bobcat or mountain lion cub. The creature's coat displayed a rich, golden base color with distinctive dark rosettes across its back and sides, while its belly showed the pale cream markings typical of much larger cats. Most unsettling were the eyes that watched her approach, amber and intelligent, with a wariness that spoke of wild instincts, barely contained by desperation. If incredible stories about wildlife encounters and the unexpected bonds between humans and wild animals captivate you, please subscribe to Wilderness Chronicles. Your subscription helps us share more remarkable tales of survival and connection while supporting our mission to document the extraordinary relationships that exist in the natural world. Every subscriber strengthens our ability to bring you these authentic stories from the wild places most people never see. Sarah had moved to this remote corner of Colorado 5 years earlier, seeking solitude after a career photographing wildlife had shown her humanity's devastating impact on natural ecosystems. Her cabin sat at 8,000 feet elevation, accessible only by a treacherous mountain road that became impassable during heavy snows. The isolation suited her perfectly after decades of watching habitat destruction and species decline through her camera lens. She had come here to document what remained of the wilderness, not to become involved in rescue situations that required expertise she did not possess. The injured cat was young, perhaps 6 months old, but already showing the muscular development and bone structure that suggested it would grow into something formidable. Sarah approached slowly, speaking in the calm voice that had kept her safe during countless encounters with unpredictable wildlife. The animal did not flee, which told her everything about the severity of its condition. Wildcats only allowed human proximity when they were too injured or sick to maintain their natural defensive behaviors. As she moved closer, Sarah could see the extent of the damage. The leg was clearly broken, possibly from a fall, and the cat was severely dehydrated with signs of hypothermia setting in. Sarah faced an impossible decision. Taking this animal to the nearest veterinary clinic would require a 4-hour drive through mountain passes that could become deadly in changing weather conditions. Leaving it here meant certain death from exposure or predation. But attempting to transport an injured wildcat in her vehicle posed serious risk to both of them. The animal's exact species remained unclear, though its size and markings suggested something far more dangerous than the native bobcats she occasionally encountered. Every this was beyond instinct warned her that her capabilities, yet something in those amber eyes made walking away impossible. The decision was made when snowflakes began falling, with a heavy persistence that promised a major storm. Sarah returned to her cabin and gathered supplies, her movements quick and efficient despite the uncertainty gnawing at her. She loaded a large dog crate, heavy blankets, a first aid kit, and emergency supplies into her truck. The drive back to the boulder field took 20 minutes through increasingly difficult conditions. When she arrived, the cat had not moved, confirming her assessment that it was too injured to flee, even from a perceived threat. Capturing the animal required careful strategy. Sarah used a thick blanket to approach from behind, speaking continuously to avoid startling it into a defensive attack. The cat offered minimal resistance, further evidence of its weakened state. Wrapping it securely but gently, Sarah managed to transfer it into the crate without injury to either of them. The animal's weight surprised her, easily 40 pounds, despite its apparent youth. During the loading process, she noticed details that made identification even more puzzling. The paws were massive for a cat this age, the head broad and powerful, the ears smaller and more rounded than those of native species. The drive to the veterinary clinic in Durango became a race against both weather and time. Snow fell steadily, reducing visibility and making the mountain roads treacherous. Sarah drove with intense focus, glancing frequently at the crate where the injured cat lay quietly, its breathing shallow but steady. She used her cell phone during brief moments of signal coverage to call ahead, warning the clinic that she was bringing in an injured wildcat of unknown species. Dr. James Crawford, the veterinarian on duty, agreed to wait despite the late hour and deteriorating conditions. Dr. Crawford had treated wildlife for 20 years. But what Sarah brought into his clinic that night challenged his experience. The cat was clearly not native to Colorado. Its bone structure, muscle development, and distinctive coat pattern suggested something from a completely different ecosystem. Under examination, the animal revealed characteristics that made classification difficult. The broken leg required immediate attention, but Crawford found himself equally concerned about the broader implications of what he was treating. This was not a species that belonged in the Colorado Rockies. The surgery to repair the fractured leg took 3 hours. Crawford worked with extreme caution, aware that he was operating on an animal whose adult size and capabilities remained unknown. The break was clean, suggesting a fall rather than an attack, and the bone set properly with surgical pins and external support. Throughout the procedure, the cat remained remarkably calm under anesthesia, its vital signs stable despite the trauma it had endured. Crawford noted unusual dental development, with canine teeth already showing the length and sharpness associated with larger predator species. Sarah waited through the surgery in the clinic's small reception area, watching snow accumulate against the windows and wondering what she had committed herself to. The roads back to her cabin would be impassable until morning at the earliest, assuming the storm ended by dawn. More pressing was the question of what would happen when the cat recovered. Wild animals required specialized care and facilities that neither she nor Dr. Crawford possessed. The nearest wildlife sanctuary was 300 miles away, and transport during winter weather would be extremely difficult. When Crawford emerged from surgery, his expression was troubled. The operation had been successful, but examination had revealed additional concerns. The cat's overall condition suggested it had been surviving on its own for some time, possibly weeks. Its muscle tone and hunting scars indicated successful predation, which meant it possessed skills and instincts that made it potentially dangerous. Most puzzling was the question of how this species had arrived in Colorado mountains, where it clearly did not belong. The recovery process would take several weeks, during which the cat would need constant monitoring and specialized care. Crawford's clinic was equipped for domestic animals and common wildlife, not for exotic predators of unknown temperament. Sarah found herself volunteering to provide the necessary care, despite having no experience with rehabilitation of wildcats. Something about the animal situation resonated with her own need for isolation and healing. She saw in its amber eyes a reflection of the wariness and self-reliance that had driven her to seek solitude in the mountains. The arrangement was unprecedented but practical. Sarah would house the recovering cat in her cabin, providing round-the-clock care under Crawford's remote supervision. The veterinarian would make regular visits as weather permitted, monitoring the healing process and providing medical guidance. They both understood the risks involved, but alternatives were limited by geography, weather, and the cat's unclear origins. The situation required improvisation and acceptance of uncertainty that neither professional protocols nor common sense would typically endorse. Transporting the sedated cat back to her cabin required careful planning. Sarah modified a spare bedroom, removing anything that could be damaged or used as a weapon. She installed heavy wire mesh over the windows and secured all furniture that could be overturned. The room became a hospital ward designed for a patient whose adult size and behavioral patterns remained completely unpredictable. When the cat was finally settled in its temporary quarters, Sarah realized her life had changed in ways she could not yet fully comprehend. The first week of recovery revealed glimpses of the animal's true nature. As the sedation wore off and healing began, the cat demonstrated intelligence that exceeded Sarah's expectations. It quickly learned the boundaries of its confined space and established routines around feeding times and Crawford's visits. Most remarkably, it showed no aggression towards Sarah, despite being trapped in an environment completely foreign to its nature. The wariness remained, but was tempered by what seemed like recognition that she had provided help when it was desperately needed. Sarah documented everything through photographs and detailed notes, her photographer's instincts compelling her to record this unprecedented situation. The cat's behavior patterns, physical development, and responses to human presence all suggested characteristics that defied easy categorization. As days passed and the leg began healing properly, the animal's true size became apparent. This was not going to remain a 40-pound cat for long. The bone structure and muscle development indicated an adult weight that could easily reach 80 or 90 pounds, possibly more. The transformation was already beginning, and Sarah realized she was witnessing something that would test every assumption about wild animals and their capacity for coexistence with humans. The snow continued falling outside her cabin windows, sealing them in together until spring, creating a situation that neither of them had chosen, but both would have to navigate. The rescue had been successful, but the real challenge was just beginning. The healing process accelerated beyond anything Dr. Crawford had predicted. Within 10 days, the cat was putting weight on its injured leg and moving with increasing confidence around the makeshift recovery room. Sarah watched through the reinforced door as the animal tested its mobility, carefully placing each step but showing remarkable resilience. The surgical pins were holding perfectly, but what concerned Crawford during his next visit was the rate of overall growth. The cat had gained nearly 8 pounds since the surgery, its frame filling out with muscle and its coat developing a lustrous thickness that spoke of robust health. Sarah established feeding routines that revealed the animal's true dietary requirements. Raw meat disappeared with surgical precision, consumed in quantities that would satisfy a much larger predator. The cat's hunting instincts manifested even in confinement through its stalking of shadows on the wall and intense focus on any movement outside the windows. Sarah began to understand that she was not caring for an injured animal so much as providing temporary housing for a predator whose natural capabilities were rapidly returning. The amber eyes that had seemed desperate during rescue now held a calculating intelligence that made her increasingly aware of a power dynamic in their relationship. Dr. Crawford's weekly visits became exercises in controlled tension. The cat tolerated his examinations, but never relaxed its vigilance. Crawford noted the unusual dental development with growing concern as permanent canine teeth emerged with length and sharpness that exceeded his reference materials for known North American species. The skull was broadening rapidly, the jaw developing the massive muscle attachments associated with cats capable of taking down large prey. Every examination confirmed that this animal would grow into something formidable, and their window for decisions about its closing future was rapidly. The breakthrough in their relationship came during Sarah's third week of providing care. She had been maintaining careful distance, treating the cat as a wild animal, requiring medical attention, rather than attempting any form of bonding. But on a particularly cold evening, when the cabin's heating system struggled against sub-zero temperatures, she noticed the cat shivering despite its thick coat. The recovery room, though insulated, could not match the warmth of the main cabin, where Sarah's wood stove maintained comfortable temperatures. Against every instinct and safety protocol, she made a decision that would fundamentally alter their dynamic. Sarah opened the reinforced door separating the cat from the rest of her cabin. She expected immediate flight or aggression, but the animal surprised her by remaining motionless, studying this new development with obvious curiosity. After several minutes of mutual assessment, the cat rose carefully and walked slowly into the main living area. It moved with deliberate caution, investigating every corner and surface while maintaining awareness of Sarah's location. The exploration took nearly an hour, during which Sarah remained perfectly still, allowing the animal to acclimate to expanded territory on its own terms. When the cat finally settled near the wood stove, positioning itself where it could monitor both the front door and Sarah's movements, a new phase of their coexistence began. The warmth from the fire seemed to relax something in the animal's posture. For the first time since the rescue, Sarah observed genuine comfort rather than mere tolerance. The cat stretched its healing leg carefully, testing flexibility while enjoying the radiant heat. Its breathing deepened into the rhythm of actual rest, rather than the alert tension that had characterized its recovery period. Sarah adapted her routines to accommodate her expanded housemate. Mealtimes became shared experiences, with the cat eating raw meat while Sarah prepared her own dinner nearby. The animal showed remarkable table manners for a wild predator, consuming its food without aggression or territorial behavior. More surprisingly, it began responding to spoken words, not with the obedience of a domestic animal, but with the acknowledgement of an intelligent creature choosing to pay attention. When Sarah said the cat's name, which she had started calling Hunter for its obvious predatory focus, those amber eyes would turn toward her with unmistakable recognition. The physical changes accelerated as winter deepened and the cat's activity level increased throughout the cabin. Hunter's shoulder height reached Sarah's mid-thigh, while its length from nose to tail tip approached 4 feet. The coat had developed into a magnificent double layer, with a golden base color becoming richer and the dark rosettes more defined. Most striking was the development of facial features that spoke of raw power. The head was becoming massively broad, the jaw capable of delivering crushing force, the neck thick with muscle designed to bring down struggling prey. Dr. Crawford's concerns grew with each visit as Hunter's size exceeded every prediction. During examinations, the cat required no restraint, allowing medical procedures with the tolerance of an animal that understood the purpose behind temporary discomfort. Crawford marveled at this cooperation while worrying about what it represented. An animal this size showing such intelligence and behavioral flexibility suggested capabilities that went far beyond typical wildcat behavior. Hunter was not just healing physically, but adapting psychologically to human presence in ways that challenged fundamental assumptions about wild animal rehabilitation. The first serious test of their coexistence came when a delivery truck struggled up the mountain road during a brief break in the weather. Sarah had ordered supplies online, forgetting that Hunter's presence would complicate any human visitors. When the delivery driver knocked on her door, Hunter's response was immediate and dramatic. The cat positioned itself between Sarah and the entrance, its body language shifting from relaxed companion to alert guardian. A low growl rumbled from its chest, not threatening but clearly communicative. This was territorial behavior, with Hunter claiming protective responsibility for both Sarah and the cabin. Sarah managed the situation by having the driver leave packages on the porch while keeping Hunter inside through verbal commands rather than physical restraint. Remarkably, the cat responded to her requests for calm behavior, though it maintained vigilant watch through the windows until the truck disappeared down the mountain. The incident revealed that Hunter had not simply accepted human presence, but had actively chosen to bond with Sarah specifically. The implications were both heartwarming and terrifying, as this level of attachment meant Hunter was developing expectations about their relationship that extended far beyond temporary medical care. Spring's approach brought new challenges as Hunter's energy levels increased with the healing leg. The cabin, spacious for one human, became cramped quarters for a rapidly growing predator. Hunter needed exercise and mental stimulation that indoor living could not provide. Sarah began allowing supervised outdoor time in her fenced yard, initially for brief periods, but extending duration as Hunter demonstrated no interest in escape. The cat seemed to understand boundaries, respecting the fence line while using every inch of available space for pacing, stretching, and observing the surrounding forest. The outdoor sessions revealed Hunter's hunting instincts in their full intensity. Small animals, unfortunate enough to enter the yard, faced a predator whose skills were developing rapidly despite months of confinement. Sarah watched Hunter stalk and capture prey with efficiency that spoke of inherited knowledge rather than learned behavior. The kills were clean and professional, demonstrating techniques that would be devastating when applied to larger targets. She began to understand that caring for Hunter meant accepting responsibility for an animal capable of taking down creatures many times its current size. Dr. Crawford's final scheduled visit came as snow began melting and mountain roads became passable for regular travel. His examination revealed complete healing of the broken leg with no residual limitations. Hunter was now a healthy wildcat, weighing nearly 60 pounds, with continued growth expected. The successful rehabilitation raised questions neither Sarah nor Crawford had fully prepared to address. Hunter could theoretically be released into the wild, but its adaptation to human presence complicated that option significantly. The discussion about Hunter's future took place in Sarah's kitchen while the cat dozed by the fire, seemingly oblivious to the conversation that would determine its fate. Crawford expressed concerns about releasing an animal that had bonded with humans. As such, cats often approach people in the wild with potentially dangerous consequences. Keeping Hunter permanently raised legal and safety issues that neither of them was equipped to handle. Wildlife sanctuaries remained an option, but Hunter's unknown origins and unusual characteristics made placement difficult. Sarah found herself advocating for an arrangement she had never imagined considering. Hunter had chosen to stay despite having opportunities to leave during outdoor sessions. The cat showed no aggression toward her and had adapted to domestic routines while maintaining its wild instincts. Perhaps the most unconventional solution was also the most practical one. She would continue providing care while Hunter retained its freedom to leave whenever it chose. The relationship had evolved beyond rescue into something resembling partnership between two independent beings who had found mutual benefit in coexistence. The decision required significant modifications to Sarah's property and lifestyle. She installed taller fencing and created secure feeding areas that would prevent conflicts with others' wildlife. Her photography work adapted to accommodate Hunter's presence, with the cat often accompanying her on shoots through the surrounding forest. These expeditions revealed Hunter's natural behavior in its intended environment while maintaining the bond they had developed during recovery. As spring advanced into early summer, Hunter's growth continued at a pace that amazed everyone familiar with the situation. The cat now weighed 70 pounds of solid muscle and moved with the fluid power of an apex predator. Its hunting success in the surrounding forest was evidenced by the remains of increasingly large prey brought back to the cabin. Sarah documented this development with growing awareness that she was witnessing something unprecedented in wildlife rehabilitation. The relationship between human and wildcat had stabilized into routines that respected both species' needs while creating something entirely unique. Hunter maintained its wild instincts and hunting behaviors while choosing to share territory with Sarah. The arrangement worked because both parties contributed to its success through mutual respect and understanding of boundaries. What had begun as a rescue had evolved into a partnership that would test every assumption about the possibilities of human-wildlife coexistence. The territorial boundaries Hunter established extended far beyond Sarah's property line, encompassing nearly 3 square miles of mountain forest that the cat claimed through scent marking and regular patrols. Sarah discovered this during a photography expedition when she encountered fresh scratches on trees and distinctive scent markings that formed a clear perimeter around her cabin. Hunter was not simply living with her, but had designated her property as the center of a hunting territory that would support a predator of his eventual size. The implications were sobering as Sarah realized she was no longer just caring for a recovering animal, but sharing space with a wildcat that had claimed dominance over a significant portion of the surrounding ecosystem. Local wildlife began responding to Hunter's presence in ways that confirmed his status as an apex predator. Deer trails shifted away from areas where Hunter hunted regularly, forcing Sarah to travel further for photography opportunities. The mountain's small predator population, including foxes and coyotes, disappeared entirely from the immediate area around her cabin. Most telling was the behavior of a black bear that had been a regular visitor to Sarah's garbage area for years. The bear's last appearance coincided with Hunter's first successful elk calf kill, after which the much larger predator abandoned the territory entirely rather than risk confrontation with the expanding cat. Hunter's hunting success escalated dramatically as summer progressed, and his size reached 80 pounds of lean muscle and bone. What had been opportunistic predation on small game evolved into systematic hunting of prey that would challenge even experienced wildcats. Sarah found evidence of successful kills, including adult deer, young elk, and even a small black bear that had ventured too close to the cabin. The precision and efficiency of these kills demonstrated hunting techniques that seemed impossible for an animal with Hunter's limited experience, suggesting that predatory knowledge was hardwired into his genetics rather than learned through trial and error. The first serious challenge to their arrangement came from an unexpected source when Colorado Parks and Wildlife received reports of unusual predator activity in Sarah's area. A backcountry hiker had discovered the remains of Hunter's elk kill and reported evidence suggesting the presence of a large cat species not native to Colorado mountains. The distinctive paw prints and feeding patterns photographed by the hiker matched no known regional predators, prompting an investigation that would threaten everything Sarah and Hunter had built together. Wildlife officials began planning capture operations for what they assumed was an escaped exotic animal posing a threat to local ecosystems and human safety. Sarah learned about the investigation through Dr. Crawford, who had been contacted for information about unusual wildlife cases in the region. The veterinarian's loyalty to patient confidentiality prevented him from revealing details about Hunter. but he warned Sarah that official attention was focusing on her area. Time was running out for the unconventional arrangement she and Hunter had developed. Decisions would need to be made quickly about whether to attempt hiding Hunter's presence or finding alternative solutions before wildlife officials arrived with tranquilizer guns and transport cages. The conversation Sarah needed to have with Hunter was impossible through conventional communication, but their months together had developed a form of understanding that transcended species barriers. She began modifying their routines in ways that suggested change was coming. Instead of their usual morning walks through familiar territory, Sarah led Hunter to the highest ridges overlooking valleys that stretched beyond his established territory. She spent longer periods sitting quietly in these elevated positions, allowing Hunter to observe vast landscapes while she considered options that might preserve both his freedom and safety. Hunter's response to these elevated surveys was immediate and intense. The cat would spend hours scanning distant ridgelines and valleys with a focus that suggested he understood the implications of what he was seeing. His body language during these sessions showed none of the relaxed familiarity he displayed around the cabin. Instead, Hunter exhibited the alert tension of an animal assessing new territory and calculating the challenges of expansion into unfamiliar terrain. Sarah began to suspect that Hunter was considering possibilities she had not fully articulated even to herself. The decision came during a late July evening when Sarah sat on her porch, watching Hunter patrol the fence line with unusual restlessness. The cat had been displaying increasing signs of confinement stress despite having several acres of territory and unlimited hunting opportunities. Something in his behavior suggested that their current arrangement, successful as it had been, was reaching its natural limits. Hunter was approaching full adult size and maturity, and his needs were expanding beyond what domestic coexistence could provide, regardless of how unconventional their relationship had become. Sarah found herself facing the most difficult choice of the entire experience. She could continue fighting to maintain their partnership, risking intervention by wildlife officials and potential danger to both of them. Alternatively, she could trust Hunter's growing restlessness and provide him with the opportunity to choose complete freedom while he still retained the skills necessary for independent survival. The latter option meant accepting that their remarkable bond might be ending, but it also honored the wild nature that had made Hunter extraordinary in the first place. The test came 3 days later when Sarah deliberately left the gate to Hunter's territory open while she worked in her garden. The cat noticed the opening immediately, but did not rush toward freedom. Instead, Hunter spent nearly an hour investigating the open gate, occasionally looking back towards Sarah as if seeking confirmation that this was intentional rather than oversight. When Sarah continued working without closing the gate, Hunter finally walked through the opening and began exploring the forest beyond his established boundaries. Sarah continued her garden work while monitoring Hunter's movements through peripheral vision and occasional glances. The cat moved with increasing confidence as he expanded his exploration, following game trails that led toward higher elevations and more remote terrain. By afternoon, Hunter had disappeared from view entirely, though Sarah could occasionally hear his distinctive vocalizations echoing from distant ridges. Evening arrived without his return, marking the first night since his rescue that Hunter had not slept near Sarah's cabin. The second day of Hunter's absence tested Sarah's resolve as she struggled with uncertainty about whether she had made the right decision. Wildlife officials could arrive at any time, and Hunter's continued presence in the area would put him at risk regardless of whether he returned to the cabin. But his absence also meant she had no way of knowing his condition or location. The forest that had seemed friendly and familiar during their shared expeditions now felt vast and potentially hostile to a cat whose survival skills, however impressive, had been developed in artificial circumstances. Hunter's return on the third evening came as a relief so profound that Sarah found herself crying as she watched the familiar golden form emerge from the tree line. But the cat that approached her cabin was subtly different from the one that had left. Hunter's movements showed increased confidence and a predatory awareness that spoke of successful hunting in unfamiliar territory. More significantly, he carried himself with the bearing of an animal that had tested its capabilities and found them adequate for independent survival. The reunion was brief but meaningful. Hunter approached Sarah directly, allowing physical contact for the first time since his recovery period, rubbing against her legs in a gesture that combined affection with scent marking. The message was clear and complex, expressing gratitude while also communicating that their relationship had fundamentally changed. Hunter was no longer dependent on Sarah's care, but was choosing to maintain connection on terms that honored his wild nature. Over the following weeks, Hunter established a new pattern that balanced independence with continued association. He would disappear for days at a time, ranging far into the wilderness and hunting in territories that extended his domain across dozens of square miles. But he returned regularly to Sarah's property, using her cabin as a base camp rather than a permanent residence. These visits allowed Sarah to monitor his condition and provided both of them with the companionship that had become central to their lives. The arrangement proved sustainable through late summer and into early fall as Hunter matured into his full adult size. At 90 pounds of solid muscle, with a coat that had reached magnificent density and color saturation, he had become a predator capable of challenging any animal in the Colorado mountains. His hunting success was evidenced by the steady supply of prey remains he occasionally brought to Sarah's property, sharing kills with the human who had provided care during his most vulnerable period. The relationship had evolved into something unprecedented in wildlife management, a partnership between human and apex predator that respected both species' needs while creating mutual benefit. Sarah continued her photography work with Hunter as an occasional companion, documenting their unique bond while maintaining the privacy necessary to protect him from official intervention. Hunter maintained his wild instincts and territorial behavior while choosing to share his domain with the human who had saved his life and respected his nature. As autumn deepened and the first snows began falling in the high country, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. What had begun as an emergency rescue had developed into a relationship that challenged every assumption about wild animal rehabilitation and human-wildlife interaction. Hunter had grown from an injured kitten into a magnificent predator while maintaining a bond that honored both his wild nature and their shared experience of healing. The snow that had brought them together was falling again, but this time it represented not crisis, but continuity. Hunter would face his first winter as a fully independent predator, while Sarah would experience the season knowing that her most unlikely companion was thriving in the wild places where he belonged. Their story continued to unfold with each passing day, proving that sometimes the most meaningful relationships are those that honor freedom while celebrating connection. The approaching winter brought challenges that would test Hunter's newfound independence in ways Sarah had not fully anticipated. Weather patterns that year were unusually severe, with early blizzards arriving in October and temperatures dropping to levels that threatened even the hardiest mountain wildlife. Sarah watched from her cabin windows as Hunter navigated these conditions with remarkable adaptability, his thick coat providing insulation that allowed him to remain active when other predators sought shelter. But she also noticed subtle changes in his behavior that suggested the harsh conditions were pushing even his exceptional capabilities to their limits. Hunter's hunting patterns shifted dramatically as prey animals adapted to the severe weather by altering their own behavioral routines. Deer moved to lower elevations where snow accumulation was less severe, forcing Hunter to expand his territory into areas where he competed directly with established predators. Sarah discovered evidence of these encounters during her own winter photography expeditions, finding tracks in the snow that told stories of confrontations between Hunter and the mountain's existing apex predators. Claw marks on trees and scattered fur indicated battles that Hunter was winning, but at a cost that concerned Sarah deeply. The first major test came during a December blizzard that lasted 4 days and dropped nearly 3 feet of snow across Hunter's territory. Sarah lost contact with him entirely during this period, unable to venture far from her cabin due to conditions that made travel dangerous even with snowshoes and emergency equipment. When the storm finally cleared, she found Hunter's tracks leading toward her property, but the pattern of movement suggested exhaustion and desperation rather than his usual confident stride. The cat that emerged from the forest was thinner than she had seen him since his initial recovery, his magnificent coat matted with ice and his amber eyes holding a weariness that spoke of genuine struggle. Hunter's approach to Sarah's cabin during this crisis revealed the depth of trust that remained between them despite months of increasing independence. The cat bypassed his usual cautious reconnaissance and walked directly to Sarah's door, settling on the porch with obvious expectation that shelter would be provided. When Sarah opened the door, Hunter entered without hesitation, moving immediately to the wood stove where he collapsed in exhaustion. For the first time since his recovery period, Hunter allowed himself to be completely vulnerable in Sarah's presence, sleeping deeply for nearly 16 hours while his body recovered from the ordeal. The reunion during those recovery days reminded Sarah of why their bond had formed so powerfully during Hunter's initial healing period. The cat that had grown into a formidable predator capable of dominating vast territories still retained the core personality that had emerged during those early weeks of care. Hunter's intelligence manifested in his ability to compartmentalize the relationship, maintaining wild independence while recognizing that Sarah represented security during genuine emergencies. This psychological flexibility suggested cognitive capabilities that exceeded typical wild animal behavior by significant margins. Dr. Crawford's winter visit, delayed by weather but finally accomplished during a brief clear period, revealed the physical toll that Hunter's expanding territory and harsh conditions were exacting. The cat had lost nearly 15 pounds from his peak weight, though his muscle tone remained excellent and his injuries from territorial conflicts were healing properly. Crawford noted that Hunter's overall condition, while concerning, was probably typical for a large predator facing his first winter as an independent hunter. The weight loss represented efficiency rather than starvation, with Hunter's body adapting to the increased energy demands of survival in severe conditions. The examination also revealed developmental changes that indicated Hunter was approaching full maturity. His skull had reached maximum size, with jaw muscles that gave him crushing bite force comparable to cats twice his weight. Dental development showed the complete emergence of adult canine teeth that measured nearly 3 inches in length, weapons capable of delivering killing bites to prey much larger than Hunter himself. Most significantly, scent gland development suggested that Hunter was beginning to produce the chemical markers associated with breeding readiness, though no female cats of his species existed in the Colorado mountains. This biological development created new complications for Sarah and Hunter's relationship, as the cat's territorial instincts intensified beyond anything they had previously experienced. Hunter began marking Sarah's property with increasing frequency, claiming not just the cabin area, but extending his scent boundaries to encompass nearly everything Sarah owned or regularly used. The behavior was not aggressive toward Sarah personally, but represented Hunter's assertion of dominance over territory that included her as a protected resource rather than an equal partner. Sarah found herself adapting to Hunter's increased territorial possessiveness while maintaining the boundaries necessary for their continued coexistence. She modified her routines to avoid triggering Hunter's protective instincts during periods when his hormonal state made him particularly reactive to perceived threats. Photography expeditions required careful coordination with Hunter's patrol schedules to prevent situations where he might interpret other humans as territorial challenges requiring violent response. The delicate balance of the relationship was shifting as Hunter's wild nature asserted itself more completely. The crisis that would test their arrangement beyond all previous limits came in late January when a group of backcountry skiers became lost during a sudden weather change and sought shelter near Sarah's property. The skiers, exhausted and hypothermic, approached her cabin just as Hunter was returning from a successful hunt, his muzzle still bloody from feeding on a fresh kill. The encounter that followed would demonstrate the full extent of Hunter's predatory capabilities, while revealing the strength of his bond with Sarah in ways neither of them had anticipated. Hunter's response to the approaching strangers was immediate and uncompromising. The cat positioned himself between the skiers and Sarah's cabin, his body language shifting from post-hunt relaxation to full combat readiness within seconds. The growl that emerged from his chest was unlike anything Sarah had heard during their time together, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the ground itself and made the approaching humans freeze in terror. Hunter had grown into something magnificent and deadly, and these strangers represented the first serious test of whether Sarah could maintain any influence over his behavior when his protective instincts were fully activated. Sarah's management of the situation required every technique she had learned during their months together, combined with quick thinking under pressure that could mean the difference between rescue and tragedy. She positioned herself between Hunter and the skiers while speaking in the calm voice that had established their communication patterns. The key was acknowledging Hunter's territorial concerns while redirecting his protective energy toward acceptable solutions. Through a combination of verbal commands and body language that had developed between them, Sarah managed to convince Hunter to maintain his protective stance while allowing the desperate skiers to approach the cabin slowly. The resolution required Sarah to establish clear boundaries that satisfied Hunter's need to control the situation while providing the stranded skiers with necessary shelter. She created a separation system using her porch as a buffer zone, allowing the hypothermic humans to warm themselves and receive food while Hunter maintained surveillance from a position that gave him tactical advantage. The arrangement worked because it honored Hunter's territorial instincts while preventing the direct confrontation that could have resulted in multiple fatalities. The overnight period with strangers in his territory tested Hunter's patience and Sarah's influence to their absolute limits. Hunter maintained vigilant guard throughout the night, never relaxing his alertness despite Sarah's presence and the obvious harmlessness of the exhausted skiers. The cat's behavior during this crisis revealed the full development of his protective instincts, which had evolved from simple attachment to Sarah into complex territorial defense that encompassed everything he considered part of his domain. Sarah realized that Hunter no longer viewed her merely as a companion, but as the central element of territory he was prepared to defend with lethal force. Morning brought rescue helicopters that evacuated the grateful skiers, while providing Sarah with sobering perspective on how close they had come to disaster. The skiers' accounts of their night included descriptions of the massive cat that had watched them with unblinking intensity throughout their stay, never showing aggression, but radiating a sense of contained violence that made sleep impossible. Sarah understood that their story would eventually reach wildlife officials, making Hunter's continued presence in the area increasingly dangerous, despite the successful resolution of this particular crisis. The aftermath of the skier incident forced Sarah to confront realities about Hunter's development that she had been avoiding throughout the winter. The cat had grown beyond the manageable companion he had been during recovery and early independence. Hunter was now a fully mature apex predator whose territorial instincts and protective behaviors posed genuine risks to any humans who might encounter him unexpectedly. His bond with Sarah remained strong, but was now expressed through predatory protection rather than the companionship that had characterized their earlier relationship. The decision that Sarah had been postponing throughout the winter could no longer be delayed. Hunter needed territory that was truly remote from human contact, where his natural behaviors would not create dangerous encounters that could result in his destruction by wildlife officials. The Colorado mountains, despite their vastness, contain too many hiking trails and backcountry recreation areas to provide the isolation that Hunter required. Sarah began researching alternatives that might allow Hunter to live as the wild predator he had become while maintaining some connection to the human who had saved his life. The solution emerged through Sarah's network of wildlife photographers and researchers who had followed Hunter's story with professional interest. Deep in the Canadian wilderness, accessible only by chartered aircraft, existed territories where large predators could live without human contact for years at a time. These areas supported the prey populations necessary to sustain cats of Hunter's size, while providing the isolation that would protect both Hunter and any humans who might otherwise encounter him. The transition would require careful planning and significant resources, but represented the best hope for Hunter's long-term survival and Sarah's peace of mind. Preparing Hunter for relocation to true wilderness required weeks of conditioning designed to ensure his survival skills were adequate for complete independence. Sarah gradually reduced the frequency of their interactions while encouraging Hunter to spend longer periods away from her property. These extended absences allowed Hunter to develop hunting patterns and territorial knowledge that would transfer to unfamiliar environments. The process was emotionally difficult for Sarah, but necessary preparation for the separation that would define the final phase of Hunter's rehabilitation. The logistics of transporting a 90-pound wildcat to remote Canadian wilderness presented challenges that required expertise Sarah did not possess. Professional wildlife relocators specialized in such operations, but their involvement meant official documentation that could trigger intervention by Colorado authorities before the transfer could be completed. Sarah found herself coordinating a complex operation that required precise timing and absolute secrecy to protect Hunter from bureaucratic processes that would likely result in his confinement rather than freedom. The chartered aircraft that would carry Hunter to his new territory arrived on a clear March morning when the mountain air held the promise of spring and new beginnings. Sarah watched from her cabin porch as the specialized transport crate was loaded with careful precision, knowing that this moment represented both ending and triumph. Hunter approached the aircraft with a confident curiosity that had defined his character since that first desperate night in the snow. His amber eyes assessing this new challenge with the intelligence that had made their impossible partnership possible. As the plane disappeared beyond the distant peaks, carrying him toward wilderness vast enough to contain his magnificence, Sarah understood that some rescues are measured not by keeping what we save close, but by having the courage to let it become everything it was meant to be. The tiny injured cat she had found bleeding in the snow had grown into exactly what nature intended, a perfect predator who would write his own story across territories where humans would never follow, carrying with him the gift of a second chance and the memory of unconditional trust between species that should have remained forever apart.